Heidi. Hurry, Heidi, said Aunt Deet. I must catch the train back to town tonight. Heidi was going to live with her grandfather on Alm Mountain. Her parents had died when she was a baby, and Deet had cared for her ever since. Now Deet was going to keep house for a rich family. Heidi was afraid. She had heard Deet say that grandfather was a mean old man who didn't like anybody. What will happen to me, she wondered. Hello, grandfather, said Heidi timidly. Well, what have we here? The old man said. I've come to live with you, Heidi told him. Oh, you have? He said. Who decided that? Just then Peter the goatherd came by with the village goats. Deet sent Heidi to play with him while she talked with grandfather. Finally, Deet called Heidi back to say goodbye. After Deet left, grandfather fixed Heidi a fine dinner of dark bread, toasted cheese, and rich goat's milk. This milk will make you strong and healthy, he smiled. Then he made Heidi a soft bed of sweet-smelling hay in the loft. That night she looked out of the little round window above her bed. The stars twinkled down on her. The wind sounded like a lullaby as it whistled through the 3 old fir trees behind the cottage. I like being here with grandfather, she thought. He isn't mean at all. The next morning Heidi went with Peter to the high pasture where he took the goats to feed. She picked wild flowers and played with the goats all day. As the sun was setting, Heidi suddenly called to Peter, "The sky is on fire. The mountain tops are all burning." Later grandfather told her it was only the sun saying good night to the mountains. Oh, grandfather! I never want to leave here, Heidi exclaimed. Then this is your home, he said. 3 happy years passed on Alm Mountain. But one spring day, everything changed. Aunt Deet came to take Heidi away. You are a lucky girl, Deet told her. A rich man wants to adopt you so that you can keep his sickly daughter company. Can I come back tomorrow to see grandfather? Asked Heidi. Yes, of course, said Deet. But grandfather knew Heidi would never return to him. Sadly he watched her go. Aunt Deet and Heidi traveled all day on the train to the big city of Frankfurt. There they went to a large fine house, where Heidi met Clara. Clara was not well and had to use a wheelchair. But she was kind and liked to laugh. Heidi also met Miss Rottenmeier, who had taken care of Clara since her mother died. Miss Rottenmeier was not happy that Heidi had never been to school and couldn't read. She did not like Heidi's manners or the friendly way Heidi spoke to the servants. Clara's grandmama came to visit and to meet Heidi. This stupid child is not fit to be with Clara, Miss Rottenmeier told her. She can't even read. Grandmama did not listen to Miss Rottenmeier. She bought picture books and used them to teach Heidi her ABCs. Soon Heidi was reading as well as Clara. When Grandmama left, she gave Heidi the books. "I can use them to teach Peter to read," Heidi said happily. Then her smile disappeared, for she didn't think she would ever see Peter again. Heidi grew to love Clara, but she hated the city. She missed going with Peter and the goats. She missed watching the sun say goodnight to the mountains. Most of all she missed Grandfather. Every night she cried herself to sleep and dreamed she was in her little hay bed listening to the wind blow through the fir trees. But when she awoke, she was still in the big house in Frankfurt. And now she knew that she would never return to Alm Mountain. "There's a ghost in this house," Miss Rottenmeier told Clara's father and the doctor. "The front door is wide open every morning. And last night I saw a white figure in the hall." That night the two men waited up for the ghost. Around midnight they heard the door creak open. There was Heidi standing outside in her white nightgown. "I thought I heard the wind blowing through the fir trees behind Grandfather's cottage, so I came outside," she explained. "But I'm not on Alm Mountain, am I?" Then Heidi burst into tears. The doctor examined Heidi. "Heidi wants to go home," he told Clara's father. "We must send her back at once or she will become very ill." Clara and her father loved Heidi too much to see her suffer. So the very next day she was on her way back to Alm Mountain. "Grandfather! Grandfather!" The old man turned to see who was calling. It was Heidi. That night Heidi lay in her hay bed listening to the wind blowing through the fir trees, and she did not cry herself to sleep. Heidi was home. Soon Clara came to visit. Peter was jealous, because Heidi stayed with her instead of coming to the high pasture with him. One day he pushed the wheelchair over a cliff, crashing it onto the rocks below. Now she will have to go home, he thought. But Clara didn't go home. She learned to walk so that she could stay in the mountains. At first Heidi and Peter had to help her. But the goat's rich milk and the fresh mountain air made her stronger, and soon she was able to walk by herself. When Clara's father came, he found a wonderful surprise. "These mountains have made a miracle," he cried. "Clara will spend every summer here." Now Heidi had everything she wished for, her home with Grandfather and her dear friends, too.